The F-35 fighter jet is known to be easier to fly for those who have less experience. If you ever happen to find yourself in possession of an F-35 unexpectedly, do you learn to operate it? Have you ever wondered what it takes to become an F-35 pilot? There's no need to worry because we can continue exploring. This video will give you some helpful tips. Without wasting any more time, let's dive right in. Exploring the F-35 cockpit, a distinctive interior. To understand how to make an F-35 takeoff, now that we're flying the F-35, let's get acquainted with its cockpit. The interior of the F-35 is distinctively different from older planes. As a modern advanced fighter aircraft, its interior is clean and organized. Different from the older fighters with numerous buttons and gauges, the F-35 has fewer than 20 operating switches. Control mechanisms: throttle, flight rocker, and rudder. The central screen resembles an iPad and can be customized with multiple split screens. On the left side, there's the throttle push for fuel and oil control, while the back of the throttle push features the APU button for initiating ignition. On the right side, there's the flight rocker, similar to a car's steering wheel, enabling pitch and direction control. However, the joystick alone cannot fully control the plane's direction, requiring the assistance of the rudder controlled by the foot pedals. Additional controls and helmet integration. The red switch behind the rocker is the toggle switch, and the landing gear switch is located at the left pull bar of the center screen. Understanding these general controls, let's fly the F-35 together. It's worth noting that the F-35 has a projection screen similar to an HUD display in cars integrated into the helmet. When wearing the helmet, flight information is automatically displayed. Takeoff preparations: throttle and flight rocker. Remember to push the throttle to the maximum during takeoff and gently pull back the flight rocker. Once in the air, retract the landing gear by pulling it back slightly. Avoid excessive speed to prevent unintended supersonic flight, as the F-35 is equipped with powerful F-135 PW100 turbofan engines capable of generating significant thrust. After takeoff, ensure you respond to air traffic control and maintain communication to avoid interception. Now, the soldier will guide you on how to use the weapons carried by the F-35. Understanding the F-35 weapons interface. A visual representation of the F-35 is presented across two screens on the primary display. The menu interface is accessed by selecting SMS AAI in the upper left corner of the right screen. From there, choosing SRCH initiates the search mode, activating the onboard radar to locate nearby targets. The screen displays radar footage with the aircraft shown in the center and incoming targets depicted as white objects encircled in red. Target acquisition and lock-on procedures. To engage with a target, the cursor button on the throttle is employed to select the desired object. The fire control system automatically locks onto the enemy and computes their flight information. Subsequently, the nose of the aircraft must be turned towards the target, as its distance may render it difficult to spot with the naked eye. However, the airborne radar accurately detects its presence, revealing a small box on the F-35 helmet indicating the target's location. Launching the chosen missile. To confirm the target lock, pressing the GJARD button, represented by an orange dotted box on the screen, disengages weapon safety. Choosing the appropriate missile is accomplished by referring to the top view of the screen, which displays two long and two short weapon icons. The longer ones are air-to-air AIM 120 missiles, while the shorter ones are air-to-ground JASM or GBU-39 small diameter bombs. The rocket is launched effortlessly by double-clicking the air-to-air weapon icon and squeezing the red trigger on the flight rocker. Missile guidance and flight monitoring. Once launched, The missile autonomously heads towards the intended target with its progress displayed on the small screen, including a countdown indicating the time until impact. After successfully neutralizing any intercepting aircraft, freedom of movement is restored. However, it is essential to consider the F-35A and B model's maximum range of 2,220 kilometers. Additionally, determining a suitable destination becomes challenging without a predetermined objective, especially considering potential anti-aircraft defenses and self-destruct mechanisms in high-value munitions. Retreating from unexpected F-35 piloting and the path to becoming an F-35 pilot. Therefore, if circumstances lead to piloting an F-35 unexpectedly, the advisable course of action is to retreat. Such an act might even garner the attention of the United States Air Force in an alternative manner. After all, an inexperienced individual successfully operating the F-35 and downing an interceptor is an impressive feat, showcasing remarkable piloting abilities. As for the formal process of becoming an F-35 pilot, it requires a separate discussion. How to become an F-35 pilot. If you want to become an F-35 pilot, you need to overcome several steps and challenges. Firstly, it's essential to understand that the US military is currently the only force operating two stealth fighters simultaneously, namely the F-22 and F-35. You must be among the best to fly either aircraft, as it requires exceptional skills and qualifications. The challenging path to becoming an F-35 pilot. Becoming an F-35 pilot is a rigorous and demanding process similar to becoming an astronaut. My information suggests that the journey begins at Hampton, Virginia, where two squadrons of F-22s from the 1st Fighter Wing of the U.S. Air Force are stationed. Aspiring pilots must gain extensive flying experience and non-stealth aircraft to be considered for selection, accumulating thousands of flight hours. This experience is crucial and is the basis for evaluation and promotion eligibility. Generous benefits for U.S. Air Force pilots. In terms of benefits, U.S. Air Force pilots receive generous compensation with annual salaries exceeding $300,000. Additional perks and subsidies are also provided. These benefits can be traced back to the Cold War era when the U.S. military facilitated the defection of several Soviet pilots who flew new Soviet warplanes. The U.S. military implemented measures to entice and retain fifth-generation pilots to prevent a similar scenario among their pilots. And that completes our video for today. We hope you enjoyed learning the details to becoming an F-35 pilot. Which of them is helpful? Tell us in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Tech Bros for more content such as this.